The 10 most expensive F1 cars ever auctioned. F1 cars are expensive. F1 cars are even more expensive when they have history attached to them. If you're looking to buy one, I really hope you've saved up your pennies because it is rather eye-watering how much these have sold for. Here are the top 10 most expensive F1 purchases of all time. 10. 1970 Brabham BT 33. £748,603. This chassis was the last car that Sir Jack Brabham ever drove in F1. Jack is the most successful Aussie ever in Formula 1, with 3 championships as a driver, 1 in a car he built himself. This was the car he used in his last ever race. 9. 1991-92 Benetton B191, £904,621. This very chassis was driven by 3 huge names in Formula 1. It was the last F1 car ever driven by 3-time champ Nelson Piquet, the first Benetton driven by the modern voice of F1 Martin Brundle, and the car that gave some young hotshot called Michael Schumacher his very first F1 podium at Mexico in 1992. If Schumi has been in it, I want it, but not at that price. 8. 1991 Jordan 191, £1.25 million. Michael Schumacher's first ever F1 car went up for sale this year. It won't be surprising to you that there are a lot of Michael's cars in this list. This one in particular was used for his first ever practice session in F1 at the Belgian Grand Prix in 1991. This is hands down one of the most beautiful cars of all time. 7. 1982 Ferrari 126 C2, £1.54 million. This is the only surviving model of this Constructors' Championship winning car. The car is steeped in history, some of it horrific, some of it joyous. The chassis sold was driven by 1978 champ Mario Andretti and Patrick Tambay. Andretti was called up to the seat late in the season after a horrible year for Ferrari. Gilles Villeneuve had been awfully killed at Zolder, and Didier Pironi lost the use of his legs in a terrible crash at Hockenheim. Andretti brought some much-needed light to the season when he came over from IndyCar and qualified on pole at Monza. 6. 1992 Williams FW14B, £2.7 million. The car that helped Nigel Mansell finally win the World Championship. The FW14B is one of the most technologically advanced cars in F1 history. It had active suspension, traction control and anti-lock brakes and was the first car designed by Adrian Newey to win a title. Whilst you're soaking that all in, I'd like to tell you about our sponsor for this video, Atlas VPN. Atlas VPN allows you to encrypt your data and hide your virtual location. There are plenty of people already using it with over 5 million users worldwide, and it's available to be used on all devices. So what happens when you use a VPN? Well, your device is given a new IP and DNS address. All of the traffic is encrypted and routed towards the VPN server. When the traffic arrives at the server, the VPN server decrypts the information and allows the traffic to access the desired destination, and therefore allowing you to access the entire library of shows available to you on platforms such as Netflix that may have been country restricted before. There is a world of undiscovered content waiting at your fingertips. Seriously, there are some fantastic motorsport movies to be found. Currently, Atlas VPN is running a huge discount on their 3-year deal for just $1.39 per month with a 30-day money-back guarantee. The deal won't last for long though, so make sure to check it out by clicking the link in the description below. Right, let's get back to it. 5. 1993 McLaren MP4/8, £3.8 million. This was the very car that Senna used when he broke the record for the most ever wins at Monaco. That year, Senna was on a race-by-race contract because he wasn't convinced by the car, but he still dragged it to wins all year. When he won in Monaco, he somehow led the standings. In the end though, he finished the year second to Prost. 4. 2010 McLaren MP4/25, £4.8 million. This car was only sold recently at the British Grand Prix. The car doesn't have the historical significance of some of the other ones on this list, but it still had great form in the 2010 season. Lewis Hamilton won the Turkish Grand Prix and got second in China as well, while Jenson Button used it to finish third in Abu Dhabi. 3. 2002 Ferrari F2002, £5 million. This was one of the most successful Ferrari cars of all time. It won 15 races, and this chassis, number 219, clinched Michael Schumacher his 5th title. He equalled Juan Manuel Fangio's record at the time for 5 championships. The only Ferrari that beats it is the absolutely mega F2004 from 2 seasons afterwards. Does anyone have a handy £5 million they can spare me, please? 2. 2001 Ferrari F2001, £5.5 million. Another Schumacher Ferrari near the top of the list. Imagine my surprise. This car specifically, chassis 211, was driven by Michael to win the Monaco Grand Prix and the Hungarian Grand Prix, where he won his 4th title. On that day, he also equalled Alain Prost's record at the time for the most F1 wins of all time, which was 51. And now, for the big one, the most expensive F1 car of all time. Here we go. 1. 1954 Mercedes W196R. £19.6 million. Yes, 19.6 million. That's almost $27 million. This is an insanely historic car. It was the Mercedes that Juan Manuel Fangio drove to his 2nd ever title in the 5th F1 season ever. Fangio won 2 races in this model, the German and Swiss Grand Prix, and the car broke a couple of records. It was the first ever championship winning car for Mercedes, and when it was auctioned in 2013, it was the most expensive car of all time. The V12 engine in the car is developed with technology from a World War II fighter plane, and it's still in working order. The car has been driven in displays as recently as 2014, 60 years after it raced. There you have it, the 10 most expensive F1 cars ever auctioned. If you could pick any F1 car from any era to purchase, what would it be and why? Let us know in the comment section below.